you don't just go into multifamily, right? Like you have to be able to raise capital.
Yep.
So talk to me about raising capital.
Raising capital seemed to be like the miracle at the beginning. So I was like, how? Right? Every time I was like on these CG calls, it's like, how do you raise money? Like, why would somebody give you money? And eventually, like we understood, obviously, like if you're having a deal that makes sense, it's not necessarily hard finding the money because you can offer something that makes sense financially for them. It's secured by real estate, right? You just have to present it the right way. Um, how we started raising money was a lot of overseas investors came in, and I guess there was the relationship again that I have from being international. There was almost like a certain trust, right? I understood how they were thinking. I understood how the local market was, looking like in comparison to the US. So I could pitch that directly to them and offer them the opportunity. And there was almost like this sense of trust of, this is a local that now lives in the US and understands the market, has been there. But I had the European mindset, and I was able to communicate in the European fashion, which was highly appreciated for some of these investors. So it made it easy for us to raise money there. And now we're pivoting a lot into raising capital from professional athletes. A lot of NFL players, professional baseball players are working with us because, again, I'm bridging the gap between, I'm not just a financial advisor, I'm an athlete myself. I know exactly what we do. We're at the same gym most of the time. They see me work out. They see me as being a real person and the commitment I put into the sports, and they're interested about what we're doing on the side. Yeah. So, it kind of like happened there by just building these relationships, like using some of my background to bridge the gap. Eventually reached out to family, friends, and got recommendations from family members who knew somebody with money they wanted to invest. But I guess the biggest part at the beginning was just getting the trust to do a big project, right? Because you're still young. Most people don't believe in you when you're young. So we had to obviously find GPs and partners, and we still have to do it for the next couple of years, probably until we have the resume to do it. But you have to give up a certain share. But again, it's more like, when you're in school, you start adding something on your resume, and it's okay, maybe getting only 5%, 10% there, but you're building something. So you're finding the deal, you're syndicating, you're doing all the hard work, you give somebody else the credit for being a GP, but you're able to bring it all together. And eventually you learn so much about it. So real estate is all, again, about people, right? You have to bring the right people together and build that trust and relationships.
So for someone listening right now that has not raised capital yet, so they've done a few wholesale deals, but they haven't raised capital yet, what are the first 3 steps you would tell them to go do right now to begin raising capital?
Find a deal that works and the money will follow you.
Yeah, I guess you almost have to start raising it a little bit earlier to anticipate a deal. The first thing we did was like just going through your contact book, right? Because sometimes you just ignore the people that you know because you're like, I know them, they don't have anything. But it's like, do I really know them? Like maybe they know somebody, like, oh, they're working in the finance industry. Let me just reach out to them and see what people do they know, or do they have any interest, right? Just talk to them, say, hey, we're real estate, we're doing this project right now. This is what the numbers look like. There's X amount of profit. If you're coming in, blah, 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 you're secured by the real estate. And then see what happens. Just having conversations. And eventually, again, it's about the network. Eventually, somebody might be interested. And then you do something with them. And then they connect you because they're like, hey, this deal went well. I have 5 other guys with money. They want to work with you. So, we came in when we started first, right? We didn't like raise millions right away. We started raising a couple thousand because we did on the construction side. Then we syndicated some of these single family flips, right? Because we got a construction loan, like a bridge loan to fix up that property. So most of it was covered. And then in the refinance, there was, 30, 40, 50,000 needed sometimes in order to make it cash flow based on the DCR ratio, the debt service coverage ratio. So, but then we syndicated them like, hey, we told somebody, hey, you give us $40,000 to come in the deal. It's going to be done. You get an 8% cash on cash return, 30% equity, 15% return on investment, right? So the numbers made sense and it was secured. We went into escrow, both of us on title. So we owned a portion of it, but we basically did the whole work of bringing everything together. So you do a couple of these, you build your resume, they connect you to other people. Eventually there's somebody with a little bit more money, wants to invest in like, more syndication kind of projects. And then it just kind of happens naturally. So we didn't plan it. I guess we kind of like naturally pivoted into it, right?
Yeah.
So step 1, contacts. Go into your phone contacts and just call people. Was there a step 2 in there, or was just call people?
I think that's the most important. Step 2 would then be going into local real estate meetups, right? Especially if you're in like bigger cities like Phoenix. There's so many meetups that you can attend to and just talk to people, right? In the suburban market, maybe not, but maybe you have to drive 2 hours for like a meetup, right? There's so much local real estate meetups. There's a lot of people that are interested in it, not everyone is an expert. There's people also going in like, hey, I want to invest in real estate, and I want to meet somebody who has a great product for me to invest in, right? So it's calling your first circle of contacts, then expanding to local meetups, Facebook groups, building your relationships.
I mean, the online presence is insane. You can meet thousands of people a day if you choose to.
Yeah.
So,
That's
putting
probably
something
the third
out.
one, then
Yeah.
building a brand, building something, something that people trust, a social media presence or something like that. So if people research you of who's that guy that talked to me there about a project, having something to like, if they look you up, they don't want to see pictures of you, always drunk on parties. It might not be the perfect idea.
Yeah.
But
Put that account on private.
Yeah. So